Hello there, YouTubers. Today, camera's going to be, I'm going to try to explain how these dogs work. You see a lot of people doing it on a lot of these old-fashioned sawmills, and maybe you don't exactly understand what they do or how they work, so I'm going to kind of explain how they work and what they do. I guess they call them a dog because they go down and bite into the log, which kind of missed it biting into the log, but anyhow, I'll do that again. I don't have a camera person, so they go down and bite into a log. Let me back it up a little bit, maybe it'll be better. There's a rack and pinion here that I think you can see it in the camera. It's hard to tell what you can see in a camera. The screens are so little, but there's a rack and pinion here, or a rack there. The pinion is in the dog itself, which I'm going to show in a minute. But that's what it does. Now they also have little different spots here for your different logs. It's got a little lever there that goes down there and keeps it in place. Once you get it in there, you can see it gets in different places. And then the gear is back here. Now working this gear, trying to move the camera and looking, there's a neutral spot in this gear, so it just stays there. But if you put your fingers here, it pulls the lever out and lets that go into neutral and comes down. So when you see me come back pulling a dog, I'm pushing in on this to put it in neutral so it'll go down and bite. The next thing I do when I'm setting a dog is there's a lot of play in these. Old mills got a lot of play in them, and that's just the way it is. So I pull out on the tension here to take all the tension out, and then neutral it and let it bite down into the log. So I'll show you that from a little bit further back, and maybe you can see kind of what I do. And then when the log's coming back, sometimes you'll see me just pull it up like that as it goes by. I'm actually pulling this out of neutral so it'll come up. But basically, when you set a dog, you take all the slop out of it with this hand, and you let it go down and bite that log. Some of the softer logs, if these bite in real good, you have to put that down and actually pull it out with the gears. And then you just push your thumb in here, now it's in neutral, and bring it up. So that's all it is. When you have your dog set on the last little notch, I'm hoping this is in there. Let me look. When it's set in the last little notch on these frick mills, you're supposed to be able to cut a 3/4 inch board and clear that. So once it's in all the way, you come out like that, and then you dog into the log. You should be able to cut a 3/4 inch board and not hit the dog if your dog relationship between here and here is correct. Now sometimes these points, they get dull and people sharpen them back. They sharpen them back this way, and when they sharpen them back, it changes that relationship. I don't know why, but it does. And sometimes they curve back, and sometimes they'll bend out. So there's, you gotta know where your dogs are. That number one. What was another thing I was going to say? I don't remember. I should have written everything down so I do a better thing. Anyhow. That's how the dog works. Now I'm going to kind of show you the parts in it, so maybe you'll understand it a little bit better. Here's I'm trying to see what's in there. Here's that little flat lever that goes, it's spring loaded. It's got a spring inside of here. I'm trying to do this on my own. It's got a little groove in there. I doubt that you'll be able to see that groove. Maybe you can see that groove in there on both sides. So this little piece here stays in time with the gear, and that goes down in there, and then it engages this gear like that. And when I put my thumb on that, I'm pulling that out like that. And then the top piece is just a regular old. I don't know if you can see that in there. There's just a bar that comes down there that engages this top piece here. Now some things that here's here's a gear that's cleaned up. Here's an old dirty one. I don't know whether you can. Okay, there's an old dirty one. I'm gonna have to move over a little bit. And if you, from time to time, you just gotta clean this stuff up, because it all does create a nuisance to where you can't set and release your dogs good. Tractor coming in over there. That's not something that you see very often. Anyhow, down inside of here on an old one, maybe you can see it. Let's see if I can get up in there. If they'll get crud up in there because you oil them, and then the oil holds the dust, well, then that spring won't release, and then when you put this thing down in there to do it, it might not, it won't move real smooth. This one, it seems like it's moving smooth, but believe me, they'll move smoother if they're cleaned up. Another thing I've done on a lot of them, if you can see this, just take a file and file all the excess casting off of the edges here, and clean them up a little bit. They work a whole lot better that way, and you can maneuver them a lot easier. Another thing that you can do is on these, as these places get hit with a thing and the log pulls them, they get peened out a little bit. And so these all look to be pretty good. This is a pretty good looking dog here. I don't know what kind of steel they're made out of, but they're pretty stiff. But this one here, this is probably the guy's #1 dog. This dog here, and I don't know whether you can see the lip there, but when you slide that in and out, if it catches that little bit of a lip, maybe you can catch it the way the sun's casting a shadow on it. That hits, that's harder to work. And here it's peened down. Here somebody's been hitting it with a hammer to drive it into the log better. This saw here, this would be coming this way. You can see where somebody hit it with a saw. And this guy here worked on this, and see, it's all ground out there. These dogs are all beat up, or this one here is. It's had a rough life. But anyhow, that's how the dogs work. Spring in and out. So now I'll turn around and show you. Maybe you'll understand that a little bit better. Now that you see the spring in there and you saw that, to set a dog, you just push it neutral, pull it up, then to set it, figure out whatever distance you want to set it at. This one, because it's got the taper out, probably has to be out a little bit further. Then you just raise up, take the tension out. If you just let it down like that, there's still all that play that you haven't taken out of it. So your log can have a tendency to move, and depending on what your tolerances are, it might move 1/4 of an inch. You know, if you look at this dog back here, it's got a lot of play on it. Let me see, I might be able to. This one here's got a, see all the play on it? So if you just raise it up, take the play out, so when it bites in, and then push it down in, because now you're engaged, then all the play between here and here is gone. If it's up against the L, that's that log with a sweep. No, that log didn't have a sweep on it. Anyhow, that's on dogs. And the other part I was going to show you, I'm going to take this off of here. Had to, oh man, that is really getting seasick there. Got cleaned up. That's log over there that wasn't worth a damn. But the title of this movie is, I hit two dogs and a woodpecker while sawing. So that's what happens from time to time. You'll hit a dog from time to time, but this isn't like that kind of dog. This is a different dog. I sawed a piece of log. Where'd they go? This camera's working really goofy right now. It just zoomed all the way out by itself. It's kind of hard to see these the way the sun's shining on them. But this was one log. One was the first cut. The little one was the first cut, and looks just like a dog to me. There's shadows from everything on here, and there's the other one. It looks just like a dog with his. You can see his nose here and his mouth down there and his eyeball up there, and then there's the one that to me looks like a woodpecker. So it's kind of a mischievous entrance to a movie, which a lot of people do that, but that's just the way it is. Maybe that one there, you can see the dog. It looks just like a dog to me. When I cut wood, I find something like that in there, I have a tendency to save it. I saved one that had 2 knots in it, looked like E.T. Then when you cut sticky wood, alias white pine, a lot of times you get pieces that come off that look like alligators. You'll hit the 2 knots or 2 knots on one cut, and then in between the first 2 knots and the second 2 knots is the snout of it, and sometimes they look just like alligators. Had to get down in the sawdust pit. I don't know if you can see down in there. All the sawdust I had to shovel all that out. That came off its stand down there. The sawdust drag came off its stand, or not drag, grain elevator, whatever. If you can see out there, the board, I'll see if I can't zoom out to that one. The board underneath that, you can see now, is new. See, it keeps going. I don't know why it keeps zooming on itself. I guess the old camera's just broke. The board underneath that grain elevator snapped and broke, and the sawdust grain elevator went down into the sawdust pile, and sawdust was building up there, and that's why in a couple of those movies there was so much sawdust coming up through the back here. I hope that'll take care of it. So I had to work on that last night. That's why the crane truck is out here. Everybody should have one of those. I just reached out and grabbed that hook on the top of that, raised it up, and then that board in about, I don't know, it was 2 or 3 videos ago that I didn't know what I was going to do with. Well, that's where it is. That's the heartwood out of one of them. It's a 2-inch piece of oak. So that's it on that. Cleaned up, not too bad. I sharpened the teeth on the mill, greased it, everything, oiled everything, so it's ready to saw up a little bit more wood. But I don't think this one's going to yield enough to finish my barn, so I'll have to drop a tree. That's enough for this one. See ya.